Hey everyone, Gaijin Goombah here. You know, I kind of thought that maybe if I just took that 1 month off in September, I wasn't gonna miss all that much, but there I go assuming again. I mean, Japan just opened up to restriction-free tourism, like 4 days ago? At least at the time of recording, and yeah, I actually did a response video on all of that right over here if you haven't seen that yet, because, I didn't expect things to open up so soon.
And man, then there was the Usagi Chronicles Season 2 dropping. Considering how much there was to talk about with Season 1, a lot of people been asking us if we were gonna cover Season 2, and yeah, maybe we'll get to that one. On top of that, we got that Onimusha anime and that adorable looking Oni film coming out, and dude, are we gonna have time for all this?
Probably not, but there was one thing that dropped in September that I absolutely 100% cannot go without talking about. A curious AAA Koei Tecmo game with the backing of EA, Wild Hearts. Now, I think most people had a look at this and went, so it's like Ghost of Tsushima and Monster Hunter? Wait, did Monster Hunter just drop a game centered around traditional Japan? And yeah, that's kind of the thing. See, in my opinion, Monster Hunter was actually extremely late to the concept of yokai hunting and being centered around this feudalistic Japan setting because of Koei Tecmo's very own Tokiden and Tokiden 2, way back in 2013 and 2016. But those two games barely saw the light of day abroad, with devs blaming just how utterly Japanese it was. To quote Koei Tecmo director Kotaro Hirata in an IGN interview, this project began as an attempt to create a Japanese-style hunting game that a new generation of players from around the world could have fun with. It was informed by our experiences developing hunting games, specifically the Tokiden series. Our goal of creating a Japanese-style hunting game for a new generation remained consistent from start to finish, but making this core idea reality was not something that happened overnight. One challenge we faced was creating something unique with universal appeal that could be accepted by players around the world. To achieve this, we went through several prototypes and trial and error over a very long period of time. So yeah, not a lot of popularity in the West considering just how Japanese was, and dude, let me tell you, Tokiden is Japanese as dicks. But in a good way. It was the first game I felt had all of the fantastical yet real Japanese isms that made me fall in love with the country in the first place. Rather than scarfing down 5,000 calories in under 30 seconds, pre-hunt buffs included Shinto purification misogi rituals and donating to sites in Shinto offering shrine boxes. Yeah, you confused yet? Well, it only got more complicated, because in lieu of items, you had offensive and defensive special abilities granted through Mitama, the spirit of countless folklore figures from Japan's mythology and history. And finally, you didn't just peel monsters like a freaking skin bandit. You purified the limbs and bodies of yokai and oni of Kegare in order to forge them into weapons and armor.
Yeah, that sure was a lot of Shinto terms you dropped there.
So yeah, I think you can understand why Tokiden didn't hit his heart abroad and why they're working and reworking this formula in Wild Hearts so that everyone can understand and get in on it.
Alright, so what exactly is Wild Hearts about?
Ooh. Yeah, it's not pretty. The premise of Wild Hearts is that nature has taken over the land of Azuma in a post-apocalypse of not nuclear bombs or corporate dystopia, but rather Mother Nature having enough of our crap and purging humanity through homeopathy. Heralded over by hulking hybrid animal-plant monsters called Kemono.
Wait, that literally just means animal!
Don't ask questions. So now it's up to you and two other friends to, quote, tame a world gone wild through not just the slashes of token Japanese melee weapons, but also through the building of traps, platforms, and transversal inventions called karakuri. Seems kinda basic, right? Well, while Monster Hunter's premise was little more than giving us an excuse to explore the gameplay mechanics, Koei Tecmo's games, particularly their Tokiden games, had a lot more narrative tied to it. There was always more at stake in the plot, and characters were far more well-rounded personality-wise. So with Wild Hearts being somewhat of an unofficial successor to Tokiden, it really got me wondering, what is the real story going on here with this game? We know where we are in this premise, but how did we get here? Well, I don't know about the inciting incident, so to speak, but I can tell you this much with 100% certainty. Based on everything I've seen, we're the baddies this time. Now you might be asking me at this point, what? I don't recall asking to be gored to death by a wild boar the size of an 18-wheeler. Well, the proof is in the cultural pudding, so to speak. While we in the West attribute world-ending events with things like the complete dismemberment of regulated capitalism and allowing sentient AI to take control of our nukes, Japan has historically and culturally been terrified of one very specific world-ending event: nature itself.
Yeah, not to horribly generalize a very complex and beautiful national religion, but at its core, Shinto is concerned about two things: the cleansing of spiritual pollution called Kegare, and the placating of Kami so that they don't get so pissed off that they destroy humanity. Cause Kami? Yeah, they're not really benevolent. In fact, without Shinto rituals, their default setting is catastrophic destruction.
See, Kami, which are the spirits of all natural things, both flora and fauna, are believed to be comprised of 4 different mitama, or souls if I can use the most generalizing terms. There's the Aramitama, Nigimitama, Kushimitama, and Sakimitama. Now, 3 of these, most of all the Nigimitama, are all about receiving the blessings and benefits of nature that help humanity. Good harvests, good catches, good health, that kind of thing. But these aspects of Mitama are only playing nice because Shinto rituals are keeping them happy. Take out the Shinto rituals and the Aramitama goes on a literal rampage, becoming the dominant aspect of the Kami soul. The Aramitama taking over the Kami is what creates all these negatives about nature. Disease, mass death, natural disasters, famine, drought, but also, this is how some of the worst monsters of Japanese folklore are born. Best and most modern example? Check out Taira no Masakado, a man turned Tatarigami who was so dangerous and deadly that his spirit was believed to spread disaster up through the 1990s until he was properly reshrined. And let me remind you, this guy actually died in 940 AD. Yeah, his theoretical reign of terror lasted for over a millennium. And as someone who's actually gone to his shrine and his grave, it was haunting. Nothing there felt right. And all of the local people that went to go pay their respects, yeah, they all seemed nervous, fearful, and wanting to get in, get their prayers done, and get out. So as far as I can theorize, the Kemono and Wild Hearts are physical manifestations of Aramitama that have dominated these different Kami. Spirits of flora and fauna corrupting into horrible monsters that are bringing about destruction to humanity. In fact, based on the gameplay trailer, you can actually see these corruptions take hold. Well, at the very beginning of the fight with the Kemono known as King Tusk, it shows that the creature is simply a hybrid of animal and plant, and there's not really that much evil looking about it. But as the fight heats up and parts of King Tusk are broken off, watch. That boar transforms with red-hot veins of energy and not only corrupts the creature further, but also regenerates it into something far more terrifying. And at the very end, what do we hear the player character say right before he slays King Tusk? This is very obviously not a fight fueled by animosity of the player character. They are remorseful that they have to slay this massive creature. If King Tusk was just some random monster that needed to be stopped, why would the character care? No, I'm 100% certain that King Tusk and all of these Kemono used to be Kami, spirits of nature that once brought benefits to humanity, now twisted, corrupted monsters, creatures so far gone that prayers and ritual will not calm them. Now it's up to our Kagatana and the weaponization of mankind's ingenuity to stop them.
You know, that brings up the other major factor in this game, the Karakuri tech that you use. How does that affect this theory of mankind screwing up?
Well, the game world calls Karakuri tech ancient, right? But look around you. There really isn't that much tech to speak of, right? In fact, we see over and over again how civilization as we know it has long been broken down and reclaimed by the wilds of nature. So how old is Karakuri tech really in retrospective to this, and how does this affect the narrative? Well, let's have a look at its real-world counterpart. Yeah, Karakuri tech is a real thing in Japan and has been since the 17th century. That is after Europe introduced the country to clockwork engineering, though craftsmen did far more with this technology than just make clocks and industrial machines. Karakuri became Japan's very first culturally unique technology to make complex automations. As described in their name, Karakuri, meaning to entangle or move thread, these machines used a complex system of ropes and strings winding around spools to create movement. And when you look back at the game footage of Karakuri devices used by player characters, that's exactly what's going on here. Dozens of lines of glowing thread that are twisting and turning to build and manipulate the structure that the player's creating.
And bro, while it might seem like a stretch, you should check out some of the insane robots that people in the Edo period made. Yeah, that's right. 17th century Japanese were building robots. Sadly, not the big Karakuri mechs that we see in anime, but still, there were all manner of spectacle robots that could do all kinds of things, like deliver tea to patrons and then have the ability to take the bowl back. And oh man, then there was the Yumihiki Doji, made by Tanaka Hisashike, that could fire a bow with insane precision. Or Hisashike's bought the Mochikaki, which, as its name implies, could write kanji, or...
Okay, I think they get the picture, little G. Let's not get too crazy here. So, as cool as all of this really is, what does it have to do with the story? Why is it important? Well, the one thing that I noticed about every single game, anime, and manga that uses karakuri as a fantasy element in its world is that it's always symbolically associated with the Edo period. You see this particular fantasy technology with all different kinds of things that are indicative of the Edo period. The clothes that people wear, the architecture of the buildings, the food that people are eating, these are all very specifically trends of the Edo period. Now look at Wild Hearts. We have in the trailers and concept art all manner of architecture that's been torn down and taken by Flora, right? But what I can't shake is that this reminds me so much of Edo period architecture, or at least a time very close to it. Like, for example, there's a lot more wood being used in all manner of structures when, prior to this time, a lot of businesses and personal domiciles were more thatchy, if you catch what I mean. This was all construction that was not really possible prior to the end of Japan's multi-century civil war of the Sengoku Jidai.
Okay, now you're the one that's going on and on. What does it all mean?
Look, what it means is that not only has mankind been utterly decimated by nature, it's probably been decimated for a long, long time. Karakuri is called ancient technology, right? Well, it, with the game world's very unique architecture, are all signs of civilization ending during this fictional Japan's Edo period. So how old does something have to be called ancient? Because bear in mind, the Edo period ended less than 150 years ago. That's not that long ago compared to how long mankind's been around. So I'm kind of theorizing here that due to the corruption and rampaging of kami turned tatarigami, societal advancements have just grinded to a halt for at least 100 years. And I won't lie, I think that's really freaking cool to consider as a fictional story. Heck, the plot twist of this game could very well be that this particular game world that we're seeing, yeah, that's literally the 2020s, right now, due to this natural apocalypse.
Or maybe this is just a completely different world or universe that isn't Earth's Japan.
Yeah, see, I thought that for a while too, but based on this game's spiritual predecessor, Tolkien, I highly doubt it. Not only does that franchise use dozens of real-world rituals rooted in Japan, but you're also visiting different points within Japanese history by name in the story. Yeah, Tolkien 1 and 2 have weird time travel, and I'm not gonna get too deep into that. But, bro, Tolkien 2 starts you off in Yokohama. Yokohama by name. It is Japan. So I have little reason to believe that Wild Hearts wouldn't at least be somewhat the same.
You know, something's been bugging me.
What was that?
This whole game, its premise, its monsters, its themes, it seems really familiar.
Yeah, because you, and I'm sure a lot of you watching, have seen this exact story before. If I didn't know better, I'd say that Koei Tecmo was copying its homework from Studio Ghibli because this is the exact same premise as Mononoke Hime. Seriously, spirits of animals corrupted into becoming hate-filled tatarigami monsters that want nothing more than to destroy human civilization? Check. Specifically having these corruptible animal spirits being the boar the size of a double-decker bus and a white wolf of equal size? Double check. The likely source of the corruption and enragement of these titanic animal spirits being the weaponized ingenuity of mankind, fracturing the balance of man and nature to a point mankind pushed so hard that nature pushed back and hard? Big check. Like I said, this is a tale as old as Japan is. We've seen it in the past, the recent present, and likely future. I personally theorize that in Wild Hearts, mankind just got too big for its britches. Now, I don't know how though. I mean, maybe it was the rapid advancement of karakuri tech that made mankind indefinitely stronger than the kimono, or maybe it was mankind's obsession with technology that pushed them ever further away from placating the kami, ignoring the rites and rituals that kept the Adamitama in line and instead pursued their own capabilities, neglecting the spirits in incorruptible forms. But no matter what the story really is, I really do think that humanity is to blame one way or another. At least, that's my running theory anyway. What do you all think? Do you think that we're the baddies based on all of this delectable history and culture, or is there another angle to all this? Let me know in the comments, and while you do, thank you, patrons. Holy crap, this was not what I expected from this month's poll, but I am so very glad you all chose this. I wasn't sure how deep this rabbit hole was gonna go, but I had a blast researching and teaching about this discovery, so thank you so very much for that. And hey, If you want to learn more about Japan through your favorite games, anime, and movies, sub up, get notified, and check back around every other week or so for a brand new cultural breakdown video. But until next time, everyone, this is Gaijin Goombah, signing out.